The crisp morning air carried a faint chill as Officer Daniel Carter stood at his post outside Buckingham Palace, his sharp eyes scanning the bustling plaza. The events of the previous day still lingered in his mind: the giant tourist, the mysterious symbol carved into the bench, and the unsettling feeling that something far larger was at play. Today, however, the plaza seemed normal. Tourists snapped photos, children laughed, and the usual rhythm of London life continued uninterrupted. But Carter knew better. The calm was deceptive. As the morning sun climbed higher, Carter noticed a familiar figure approaching from the distance. It was the same towering man from the day before, his height making him stand out even in the dense crowd. The giant moved with purpose, his eyes scanning the area with the same calculated precision Carter had observed before. This time, however, the man wasn't alone. A woman walked beside him, her demeanor calm but alert. She carried a small bag slung over her shoulder, its contents unknown, but undoubtedly significant. Carter's instincts kicked into overdrive. He subtly adjusted his stance, ensuring he had a clear view of the pair while maintaining his stoic facade. The giant and the woman stopped near the same bench from the previous day, but instead of sitting, they exchanged a few quiet words before the woman knelt down, her hands moving deftly over the wooden slats. Carter's heart raced. What were they doing? Was this another marking, a signal, or something more? The woman stood abruptly, her eyes locking with Carter's for the briefest of moments. There was no fear in her gaze, only a quiet determination. She nodded almost imperceptibly before she and the giant melted into the crowd, leaving Carter with more questions than answers. He waited until they were out of sight before approaching the bench. Kneeling down, he ran his fingers over the wood, searching for any new markings. At first he found nothing, but then, hidden in the grain of the wood, he felt it. A small, almost imperceptible indentation. It was another symbol, different from the first, but equally precise. Carter quickly radioed the security team. "We've got another marking, same location, different symbol. I need a team here now." Within minutes, a plainclothes unit arrived, their tools already in hand. They photographed the new symbol, collected samples, and began analyzing its meaning. Carter watched as the team worked, his mind racing. The giant and his companion weren't just marking the bench. They were communicating. But with whom? And why? As the team worked, Carter's radio crackled to life. "Carter, we've got movement on the cameras. The giant and the woman just entered a building 2 blocks from here. It's a private office space. No registered business. We're sending a team to investigate." Carter nodded, his pulse quickening. "I'm on my way." The building was unassuming, blending seamlessly into the surrounding architecture. Carter and the team approached cautiously, their weapons drawn, but hidden. Inside, they found the office space empty, except for a single laptop left open on a desk. The screen displayed a live feed of the plaza outside Buckingham Palace, focused squarely on the bench. Carter's stomach dropped. They had been watching him the entire time. As the team secured the room, Carter noticed a small note taped to the laptop. It read, "Not all paths lead to Rome. Some lead to mirrors." The word sent a chill down his spine. What did it mean? Before he could ponder further, the laptop's screen flickered, and a new message appeared. "You're closer than you think, Officer Carter. But time is running out." The team's tech specialist quickly began tracing the signal, but it was encrypted and routed through multiple servers. "Whoever they are, they're good," the specialist muttered. "This level of encryption is military grade." Carter clenched his fists. The giant and his companion were professionals, but their motives remained unclear. Were they allies trying to expose a larger threat, or were they the threat themselves? Back at the palace, the security team had decoded the new symbol. It wasn't just a marker, it was a map. The lines and angles formed a precise layout of London's underground tunnels, with several key points highlighted. One of those points was directly beneath Buckingham Palace. Carter's blood ran cold. If the palace's underground infrastructure was compromised, the consequences could be catastrophic. Commander Phillips arrived on the scene, his face grim. "We've got teams sweeping the tunnels now, but this goes deeper than we thought. The symbols, the markings, they're part of a larger network. Someone's been planning this for a long time." Carter nodded, his mind racing. The giant and his companion, they're not working alone. This is bigger than just one operation. As the day wore on, the pieces began to fall into place. The symbols were part of a coded language, used by a shadowy organization known only as the Mirror. Their goal: to exploit vulnerabilities in major cities' infrastructure, using them as leverage for unknown ends. The giant and his companion were operatives, but their allegiance was unclear. Were they trying to stop the Mirror, or were they part of it? The final clue came in the form of a cryptic message left on the laptop. "The true threat lies not in what you see, but in what you don't." Carter realized with growing dread that the mirror's plan wasn't just about physical infrastructure, it was about information. They were targeting the very systems that kept London running, its power grids, communication networks, and financial systems. As night fell, Carter stood once more at his post outside the palace, his eyes scanning the now quiet plaza. The bench where it had all started seemed innocuous, but he knew better. Somewhere beneath his feet, teams were working to secure the tunnels, to prevent whatever the mirror had planned. And somewhere out there, the giant and his companion were still at large, their true motives hidden behind a veil of mystery. Carter's radio crackled again. "We found something in the tunnels. You need to see this." He took one last look at the bench before heading underground, knowing that the answers he sought were closer than ever. But so was the danger. The underground tunnels beneath Buckingham Palace were a labyrinth of narrow passages, dimly lit and filled with the hum of machinery. Carter and his team moved cautiously, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The air was damp, and the walls were lined with pipes and cables, some of which were marked with the same symbols they had found on the bench. "This is it," one of the technicians said, pointing to a section of the wall where the symbol was most prominent. "This symbol corresponds to a junction box that controls the palace's security systems. If someone tampered with it..." Carter didn't need to hear the rest. He understood the implications. If the mirror had access to the palace's security systems, they could potentially disable alarms, unlock doors, and even manipulate surveillance feeds. The thought sent a shiver down his spine. As the team worked to secure the junction box, Carter noticed something else. A small device attached to one of the cables. It was no larger than a matchbox, but its presence was alarming. "What is that?" he asked, pointing it out to the technician. The technician's face paled as he examined the device. "It's a data tap. Someone's been monitoring the palace's communications. This thing has been here for weeks, maybe longer." Carter's mind raced. If the mirror had been monitoring the palace's communications, they would have access to sensitive information, schedules, security protocols, even the movements of high-profile individuals. The scope of the threat was staggering. The mirror's endgame. Back at the command center, the team pieced together the information they had gathered. The mirror's plan was far more sophisticated than anyone had anticipated. They weren't just targeting physical infrastructure. They were orchestrating a coordinated attack on London's financial systems, using the palace's compromised security as a gateway. "We need to shut this down now," Commander Phillips said, his voice tense. "If they gain access to the financial systems, they could destabilize the entire city." Carter nodded, but his thoughts were elsewhere. The giant and his companion were still out there, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they held the key to stopping the mirror. "We need to find them," he said. "They're the only ones who know how deep this goes." As the team mobilized, Carter received a message on his secure line. It was from an unknown number, but the content was unmistakable. "Meet me at the bridge. Alone." Carter knew it was a risk, but he also knew he had no choice. The giant and his companion were his only lead, and time was running out. The bridge. The bridge was deserted, the only sound the gentle lapping of the river below. Carter stood in the shadows, his hand resting on his weapon. He didn't have to wait long. The giant emerged from the darkness, his towering figure silhouetted against the moonlight. The woman was with him, her eyes scanning the area for any signs of danger. "You've been following us," the giant said, his voice calm but firm. "But you're asking the wrong questions." Carter stepped forward, his eyes narrowing. "Then tell me the right ones." The giant exchanged a glance with the woman before speaking. "The mirror isn't just an organization, it's a network, a web of operatives embedded in every major city. They've been planning this for years and they're closer than you think." Carter's heart pounded in his chest. "What do they want?" The woman stepped forward, her voice steady. "Control. They're not after money or power. They want to destabilize the system, to create chaos. And they're using people like us to do it." Carter's mind raced. "People like you?" The giant nodded. "We were recruited, just like you, but we saw through their lies. Now we're trying to stop them." Carter felt a surge of adrenaline. "Then help me. Tell me what you know." The giant and the woman exchanged another glance before the woman spoke. "There's a meeting tonight. The mirror's leaders will be there. If you want to stop them, you'll need to act fast." Carter didn't hesitate. "Where?" The giant handed him a small device. "This will lead you to them. But be careful. They're expecting you." As Carter took the device, he felt a sense of determination wash over him. The mirror's plan was vast, but he knew he couldn't let them succeed. The fate of London, and perhaps the world, depended on it. The final confrontation. The meeting place was an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Carter moved silently through the shadows, his weapon drawn. The device the giant had given him led him to a hidden entrance, where he found himself face to face with the mirror's leaders. The room was filled with screens, each displaying a different city's infrastructure. The leaders of the mirror stood at the center, their faces obscured by masks. Carter knew he was outnumbered, but he also knew he had no choice. He had to stop them. As he stepped into the light, the leaders turned to face him. "You're too late," one of them said, their voice cold and emotionless. "The plan is already in motion." Carter didn't respond. He simply raised his weapon and fired. Epilogue. The aftermath of the confrontation was chaotic. The mirror's leaders were captured, their network dismantled, but the cost had been high. Carter stood once more at his post outside Buckingham Palace, his mind heavy with the weight of what he had done. The giant and the woman were gone, their true identities still a mystery. But Carter knew they were out there, watching, waiting. The mirror had been stopped, but the world was still filled with shadows. As the sun rose over London, Carter took a deep breath and straightened his uniform. The city was safe, for now, but he knew the fight was far from over. Somewhere out there, another threat was waiting, and when it came, he would be ready. To be continued.